Let's talk about buildings today. We're going to talk about design and architecture, one of my huge interests. If I hadn't gone into IT, I would have gone into there. But interestingly enough, we're coming to a point where these intersections, I mean, over the past decades with CAD, they have been coming closer and closer together. But with, I shall not say the buzzword, but with recent advancements, we're actually getting very, very close. We're getting what these processes have given us is democratizing the access to be able to create and ideate things much quicker. And up until now, we've seen that with text. We're seeing that a lot of people are playing around with images. That's even going to videos. And we're getting to this point where it's going to be getting to 3D models. And there has been a lot of work where right now you could say, oh, I would like to see a bunny, and generate an actual 3D model, which you can export that mesh into Blender or something like that and actually play with it. We're getting very close to a moment where this is going to apply to architecture. And what I believe this is going to see is a massive amount of creativity and also peeling away of a lot of bureaucracy and a lot of gates that have been erected in the past, where the gatekeepers are people like architects, town planners, project managers, building project managers that have some of this information or have access to applications that can answer questions that sometimes, if they're not proactive, I mean, there's so much to do in a business, so you can't just do everything. You can't answer every single question. You can't simulate every single question, and you can't you can't know every single thing that the client wants or thinks of. So sometimes you rely on the client asking the questions, and sometimes the client has no idea the questions to even ask. And so unless you're very, very lucky and have a very, very good architect or a project manager or someone that can take you through this process of ensuring that you are asking the right questions, you may find yourself a little bit further down the line, once you've sunk hundreds of hours and hundreds of thousands of dollars into meetings and discussions, and then also the process going through council and all these different things. And then you will find out that some of the questions were not asked, some of the simulations were not made, some of the questions have not been answered. And I think what we're coming to a moment, which is very, very interesting, is being able to model very quickly and easily what a building could look like, or the process of creating a proper BIM architecture which contains all the information of that said building, and then run multiple simulations and then have the questions to ask, or also being able to go through those questions. Imagine if that can be done from the comfort of your own home, sitting down on a beanbag, and just an application that might be as simple as swiping through, let's say like a Tinder. This is the kind of idea that I had of, like, imagine if you could have just multiple designs just being given to you, and you could just say, no, don't like that because of this, I like that because of this, and then have the algorithm learn exactly what you like. But let's take it a step backwards. Buildings are regulated by lots of, there's lots of regulations, there's lots of laws, ways that you go around buildings, right? There's obviously the physics and the engineering to ensure that they work. There's the building practices of the area, the country, or the city. But then you have lots of regulations that are by the council that will let you know what you can and can't do. And I'll give you just one example. There's building, let's say, setbacks and perimeters of like where you can build, how close you can build based on certain criteria. From my understanding so far, some of these setbacks have got to do with sunlight or shadows blocking neighbors. And there's a certain amount that you can and can't have. So ground floor will have a certain amount. But from what I understand, ground floor does not have any setbacks to the side of the property. But a first floor does have some setbacks. These things are all buried into regulations. But imagine if you were able to easily unearth the regulations and not just have a conversation, because that would be your first, thought of like, okay, what if I just go figure out, Google where that document is, the last regulations that have been passed, the building that you have to adhere to in this area, figure out what zone I'm in, what class building I'm working with, and then read through it and read the setbacks. And okay, maybe I have an idea. Maybe you're a little bit more advanced and you say, okay, let me bring that PDF, that document into ChatGPT, and now I can have a conversation. How big are the setbacks? But what if you can go a step further? What if you can get to a point where all you have to do is plug in your location, and from this you're getting quite a few things, right? You're getting You're geolocating your spot, which means simulations become much easier because shadows, sun, right, location, you've got that, which is something that if you have a basic or a decent enough modeling, a 3D modeling software or an architectural software, you'll be able to do. But then you could also bring in the boundaries, and this is our almost and think of this, okay? Not just that you're looking up and asking the questions and then coming back, but imagine if you're designing and then anything that goes against code automatically is like flagged, like it, that part of the building goes red. It's like, let's say you don't have enough sunlight. It's like all your windows, like, pulse are red, and they tell you, sorry, there's not enough sunlight. And then what if you have a button that says, okay, auto fix it for me, AI generate it for me. And it changes the shape, the design, the number of windows to be able to accommodate. But now I can also regenerate those and work with, oh, you know what, I like this style, and you bring in an image style. Okay, anyways, I'm getting to facades, so I'm getting a bit further out. But imagine applying this to the inner workings of your building before you go into the interior, just getting the building size. Imagine if you could work with the modeling that you do not need a architectural degree, or you do not need years of working with CAD software to understand how to do lines on a floor plan, a 2D floor plan, but you're able to ideate what a building is, where you're able to explain what kind of building, okay, I have a mixed-use building and I want to put this over here, and then input all the numbers. I'm starting to see these kind of things which for like residential houses, like how many bedrooms do you want, how many occupants, but imagine scaling this up. And as you go through, you're always going to be adhering to the regulations of the council. And if you don't, they get flagged, and you no longer have to wait for, hey, is this question correctly? Should I go see the document? Like, even knowing which documents to see, I've seen very few people that actually do that. You hire someone to go take care of that. And even when you read through it, it's so much work to cross-reference and check. It's a big process, which is why you have town planners, why you have these people that you go through before you submit it to council. I'm talking obviously in this location right now, these terms will be different depending on which country or which city, which state you're in, and the building regulations. I'll give you one example. In France, they actually have a program that you can upload your design, your PDF, so your floor maps on all your elevations. Like once you get to the end of it with the architects, instead of going through the whole process of going through council, that could take months and lots of money and getting set back and, okay, no, that's not good, redo that. I think they get something like within half an hour, they get a pass or a fail and tell you like that will work or this won't work and because of this and this. That is a huge leap forward. But imagine if that was built into the process. The tool that you could draw was super simple for any person, that as you're modeling the building, you're able to explain, to work, to change, all because it's 3D. All your calculations are correct, like the building footprint, the property footprint you can draw out, the shape of the building you can work through and ideate different designs, different concepts from the outside as a very bare bones, like, gray block. And then constantly just refine that by words, by a conversation. But all your regulations are built in, all the simulations are built in, you can query those things. And suggestions could be given to you as you go through. Hey, have you thought about putting solar panels? A building this size could use this amount of solar panels and this amount of batteries. And because we have all this information, we know exactly how much the cost is, and that's put into the revenue, that's put into how much profit you're going to get out, that's put into the occupancy of the building. And this simulation, you do not have to spend also a long time to go through. You can get answers within minutes, within seconds. And you can get them, discard them. You could say, no, I actually don't want that amount of the roof to go through solar. All these things become conversations, but they're all being governed by the regulations of the area. And as you go through, you can upload topography information from Google Maps. You can upload it from even regular SVG drawings and change that terrain. What I'm saying is make it as simple as possible, but utilize the backbone of regulations through the design process. And if you're out of bounds, it will prompt you and say, sorry, that's not allowed, or and then give you suggestions of how to fix that. Think of how much easier that would be to design. Think of how much time that would save. And think about how much money that would save. Getting to the end result much quicker. You'll be able to work on playing around with generating how the building should look rather than the inner working functions. get building. Yeah, you'll answer all your questions before there are questions. Simulate everything.